Hey guys, welcome back to another Gaming Memories video. Here we are taking a look at KOF 97. That was released on the PlayStation primarily in the year 1997. And it's a unique type of fighting game that actually has spawned on a number, or shall I say a ton of sequels over the years, even on to current and next gen consoles. Like this franchise alone has gone on for 25 plus years pretty much. It all started off, I think, on was it the Neo Geo handheld console, and it just literally just went off from there, and then it's gradually become more popular then on other platforms and formats over the years. So I do remember this game actually being released back then, and around 97, and I think 97 was one of the more popular games in the franchise for quite a long time, and it just I think it sold quite a lot. I think it's a big kind of popular game that's outside of like regions of Europe and so forth. It does be quite popular. The one thing that's straight away that's striking about it is the visual aesthetic about it, because even if I played some of the modern games, and I owned a couple of them over the years, and they were actually very enjoyable. They were difficult, but they were very enjoyable. But I love the visual aesthetic on it. The graphics on it are actually beautiful. They use like kind of like anime style graphics, with really very high quality, like kind of like more almost like hand drawn kind of visuals and so forth. And it just really adds to the aesthetic of the game. It's actually very unique, and because most games had actually opted to be primarily being played in 3D at the time, but this game kind of stuck to the roots of 2D fighting, which in itself, back then you'd be thinking to yourself like, why isn't every game taking the transition to 3D? But sometimes some certain games are not suited, or visually not suited to that style. Sometimes they're better just to stay as they are, and this happened to be just one of those series of games that always just kind of stuck to its roots. Over time they did actually add elements into it, like say with more animations and stuff going on in the backgrounds, even like 3D elements going on in the backgrounds, but primarily the characters were always 2D. So it is actually decent. It's a tough game, don't get me wrong. It reminds you very the likes of the Street Fighter series, primarily even Street Fighter 2, if you've ever played them, or even like some Mortal Kombat in terms of its fighting style. It is actually pretty cool. It does look class, but it does offer quite a unique challenge. Like a lot of other games similar to it, you go through, you can play like multiplayer where you can play versus against each other, like say your friends or stuff like that, or you can play through like the campaigns. You can do practice mode, and you can play through the arcade and try to gain as far as you can through likes of the story, because like there's a number of different characters in the game, and each character would have their own kind of unique story arc. So you'd have to actually complete the arcade version, get to the final boss and defeat the final boss to be able to actually see their story background or dialogue pretty much. Again, it's still tough to do that, because even from playing this here now, like a lot of these games, the games always start off relatively easy for the first couple of fights, then they gradually increase in difficulty to a point that there's certain characters, for some reason it does be a struggle, unless you're really good at these games. It does be a struggle to actually win a lot of the fights, so you find yourself more often than not having to change out the different characters just to go back in to try and make those fights a little bit easier for yourself, because it definitely, the difficulty does increase. And especially when you get to like sort of the final boss, which is pretty much the case in most games, it gets to the point where the final boss, the moveset is just really cheesy, that it's almost to a point that it's almost unbearable sometimes to actually win, unless you're really skilled at the games, which to be honest, I was never the most skilled at games. I think I used to play the likes of Street Fighter 2 and even Mortal Kombat. I was actually okay at Mortal Kombat, and I can remember the movesets and the combos and so forth, but any other game after that I always kind of struggled with them. I was never as good with other fighting games as I was with the likes of Mortal Kombat. Eventually when I got into the likes of even the Tekken series, it took a while, but eventually like with Tekken 3 I really got into it, and I started to get the hang of Tekken 3 and I really enjoyed that. But again, if I was to play someone that was actually really good at the game, I would just get trashed, and this year would be no different. So I did enjoy these games, but I just had to just work really hard and play through it a ton of times just to have like even one good attempt where I could actually win even one fight. But that one fight I probably had to have played it about 20 times and die so many times before I'd even get through it even once. But I suppose that's just the reality of these type of games. That's the way they always play out, and especially these older type of games, there is no room for error at all. Like, you really have to be on the ball. So you do. You have to be exceptional basically to really kind of have any chance to really see or get the most out of it. If you're an average gamer, granted you'll have a bit of fun with it if you're just playing it. More so if you're to get the most out of it, if you're only a casual gamer and you're not that good at it, play it with a group of your mates because you'll be all kind of literally on the same level. So at least you have a chance. But if you're playing against a computer, yes, you can achieve the end result and finish the game, but not without a struggle. It definitely, you will find the game actually to be tough, and like all fighting games that I've ever played over the years are always like that, so this year's no different. But this was quite cool because the visual aesthetic in the games, and even a lot of these levels, I do remember actually even in the later games, I remember even owning a couple of them on the PlayStation 3 over the last number of years, and a lot of these levels and backdrops are actually in the more modern games, so they obviously do reuse a lot of the characteristics from each of the games. Again, these games have spawned so many sequels that literally has lasted like over 20, 25 plus years, and it just keeps going. Every couple of years it may go quiet for a couple of years and then they'll release another one, and then it just seems to just more of the same. But I suppose it's kind of like a reliable a technique, so I suppose if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of way. So, and if it's a popular franchise, which clearly it is, because they never would have released as many games as they did if it wasn't popular, so that will actually tell you. But each character has its own, they have their own unique kind of like custom fighting moves and sets. Some are more limited than others. Like so with this character here, he doesn't really use his fists as much, he just kicks a lot more, whereas other characters would use more special moves and be more agile. It depends really on your fighting style and what you're actually looking to try and do with it. There is a character there that'll be suited for everybody. Some characters will make certain situations easier than others. Others make it more difficult. But again, it really just depends on really who you're fighting when it comes to each pretty much challenge in the game. But it's a fun title. I do recommend if you're into fighting games at all and you do like the King of Fighters series, definitely feel free to check this one out if you can get your hands on it. And even if you're a fan of the franchise as well, just have a look at it, because visually it is stunning. It's a very, very good looking game and definitely will offer a presentable challenge to you. So what are your thoughts on this game? Did you play it back in the day? And if so, did you enjoy it or did you find it frustrating? Be sure to share your thoughts down in the comments below. So if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. Also be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be updated whenever I release future content. And also feel free to share the video, as I am going to be re-exploring a lot of these old classic fighting games on the PlayStation and sharing my thoughts and experiences with everyone. So as always, make sure to keep playing those classic games and enjoying them, and keep those gaming memories alive.